Gentleman yields back. Ms. Napolitano, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Secretary Millar, California and Washington are very similar in dealing with impacts of cross-state rail and truck traffic on local communities. My district specifically has some of the largest trucking and rail corridors in the country. Great crossing projects and projects that improve commuter experience with less interaction with trucks are very important in my community. How necessary are great crossing safety projects and commuter projects that address the combined truck corridors, and can you give examples of what Washington has done to improve the commuter experience in rail in the freight corridors, and how effective have the federal grade crossing elimination and freight programs been? What can be done better?
Thank you for that question, Congresswoman. Freight logistics is hugely important to Washington State. We are a trade-centric economy with ports of Seattle and Tacoma and other ports, and a lot of north-south truck and rail traffic, a lot of east-west truck and rail traffic. The grade crossing safety funding that we receive from the federal government is invested statewide in making our system safer. We have a great partner with our Class 1s, with Burlington Northern Union Pacific. We put together a grade crossing plan for the entire state. We identified the top 50 and we're funding them and getting those crossings accommodated. We're also working on the issue of truck parking. With the new rules, the electronic logs and the like, we have truckers pulling over to the side of the road outside of our major urban areas looking for a place to stop and take that mandatory break. We don't have enough places for them to park, and local governments are resistant to permitting additional places for truckers to park. So we are identifying spaces in the public sector. We're talking with cities and counties and others about, including our ports and our shippers, about safe places to park. We actually had to pass a law in Washington State requiring receivers of freight to allow the truck drivers to use the restrooms in their facilities because they were not being allowed. We're entirely dependent on trucking to move goods and services in our communities, but we're not treating the truckers with the respect that they need to become a part of that community. We've worked with the University of Washington. We've applied a little AI and the like to a predictive truck parking model that can give a trucker the likelihood of finding a parking space 2 to 4 hours in advance, and we're expanding that work. We have a grant application in partnering with the states of Oregon and California to look at a predictive truck parking model for the I-5 corridor. So there's a lot going on in that space.
Thank you, sir. Again, in your testimony, you discussed the importance of federal government support to states for a national EV charging program. Washington, Oregon, and California are working collectively on the West Coast Electric Highway Program. Can you briefly discuss the program, how effective is the partnership, and how important it is to our local, state, and national transportation systems?
Thank you, Congresswoman. The West Coast Electric Vehicle Highway Partnership has been in place for more than a decade now. It started with state investment, and with NEVI, now we have federal money going into that program as well. The 3 states have collaborated in that corridor on what our standards are, what the spacing is, how we invest public funding and leverage private funding to make that happen. It is essentially in place along the I-5 corridor from Baja, California, all the way to British Columbia. And we're looking at other routes east-west off of that corridor, routes like 99 in California and 101. So that work is advancing. We are working now on a heavy freight equivalent of that, looking at both battery electric trucking, the Class 8 trucks, and the hydrogen fuel cells, being able to provide fueling for them. It's emerging, but the federal funding that has come to us has greatly enabled us to advance all of those agendas faster than we would be otherwise.
Thank you for your answer. I yield back.